Hello my viewers, and welcome to yet another eye-opening exploration of the pervasive influence of palm-coloredness in education and its profound impact on both students of color and Black students. Now in this video, Oben D'Angelo shines a spotlight on the stark reality of a teaching force overwhelmingly composed of palm-color educators and the systemic biases that permeate our education institutions. Now, D'Angelo's insight cuts to the core of a deeply entrenched issue, the lack of representation and diversity among teachers, which has far-reaching consequences for both students of color and Black students. Now, as D'Angelo astutely points out, the majority of students, regardless of their racial background, are taught by palm-color educators who themselves were educated within a system designed by and for palm-color people. Now, this lack of representation extends beyond the classroom, shaping educational materials, curricula, and disciplinary practices that often fail to reflect the lived experiences and cultural backgrounds of both students of color and Black students. Now, the consequences are dire, with disparities in academic achievement, disciplinary actions, and opportunities plaguing marginalized communities. Through empirical evidence, D'Angelo highlights the disturbing outcomes of this imbalance, from disproportionate referrals to special education and harsh disciplinary measures to the insidious school-to-prison pipeline that robs countless young people of their futures. Join me as she explains more of this, and as a brother comments on this. Check out this video. I will be right back.
Yo, watch this right here and come back for my commentary.
Pretty much all of us have been taught by white people, who've 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 been taught by white people, taught by white people, using textbooks written for, about white people. You pretty much only ever had white teachers. So if you're white, you were relentlessly reflected at the front of the room, and you could get through graduate school without having a teacher of color, right? Or maybe one, maybe two. And if you're a person of color, rarely, if ever, did you see yourself reflected at the front of the room. So that teaching force, which is upwards of 93% white across the nation, and yet these teachers are now in the position to decide who's smart, who belongs where, who should be punished for what. And we see this empirically in the outcomes of tracking, special ed referrals, punishment, expulsion, the school-to-prison pipeline.
Like, I don't think y'all truly understand what Oben D'Angelo was saying here and how true it is. For instance, firstly, let's establish that roughly 80% of all teachers in this country are white, and in some districts that can be as many as, honestly, 100%. Concurrently, Black educators account for about 6% of all educators. For Black men, it's about 1.3%. And in some areas like Minnesota, where I spoke recently, Black men are only 0.5% of all educators. There is overwhelming research and data that proves that Black teachers are better for Black students, and in fact, white teachers are harmful or bad for our kids. Having a Black teacher means our kids will perform better on standardized tests, and Black children who have Black teachers are more likely to go to college and less likely to drop out. Black teachers are also more likely to recommend Black students for gifted programs, and they're less likely to suspend, expel, or refer them for discipline issues. Oh, and this impact isn't just had on Black students. Black teachers had a positive impact on every student, all students, regardless of their background. For example, being assigned a Black teacher improved students' reading and math scores and decreased chronic absenteeism by roughly 60%. So does this mean that Black folks are just better teachers than white folks? Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, we can all probably say that we've had great teachers of all backgrounds. I know I have, but it's something that Black folks as educators mostly do differently that we can all learn from. And that is, Black teachers culturally demand better and have higher expectations for their Black students. And not just for their Black students, but for all students. And as an educator of 12 years, where 10 years I taught in a diverse school, I can tell you that this is true. On the flip side, studies show that white teachers, when given the same student as a Black teacher, is less likely to see that child as college material. And why is that? Well, it's based on social conditioning. White teachers work from within a hegemonic Western epistemological framework, which often predisposes them to have lower expectations of black students and a lack of respect for the students' families and primary culture. We're not saying that black teachers can wave a magic wand, but what we're saying is this research suggests that white teachers' failure to address or value black students' primary culture could also be a significant factor in their academic success. So what do we do moving forward? Well, the first step is, of course, we need more black educators, but it's not enough to just say we need more black teachers. Y'all know how I feel. Representation matters is an incomplete sentence. We need to cultivate, mentor, and recruit black folks who we know have a nurturing, caring, and conscious spirit that's in tune with our culture to go into the classroom. Number two, white folks, there's hope for you. You need to truly challenge yourself, question yourself, reflect, and understand that you are included in these studies. No matter how much you've learned or how many of my videos you've watched, and understand that you have to set those high expectations for our kids and also understand the backgrounds in which they come from. And no, expectations alone won't cure this, but starting with that as an endpoint means that you'll understand the barriers that are in place and work to remove them using your place of privilege and your position to power to make sure that they can be as successful as they are supposed to be. Because let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it real. If you don't have relationships with black folks outside of what you see in the media, where we are mostly depicted as gang members, gang bangers, gangsters, and thugs, and you're not reading books and you're not unlearning and you're not committed to this anti-racist life, then how do you expect to view our kids differently when you go into the class if this is the prototype that you have for blackness? The third thing, and this is not a full list, but this is what I'm giving you now: read, learn, understand that you don't know it all. Sign up for that online course that you need to sign up for. Your college did not prepare you for this. Your life did not prepare you for this. So at this point in your life, you're at a preschool level primarily in terms of understanding racial issues and understanding black culture. So act like that. Act like that, because you'll continue to have this hunger and thirst for knowledge. That bachelor's degree, that master's degree, that doctorate you got, that don't mean nothing when you're talking about what we dealing with. Matter of fact, in the classroom, we have a doctorate in our experience, and you are the child. And lastly, do not expect your black friends or black co-workers or black acquaintances to teach you a thing. This is your responsibility. You must commit to it. You must invest in it. You must bring in experts. Myself and other people do this type of work for a living. What Robin DiAngelo talked about here is a reality, but it doesn't have to be if we are committed to making a change moving forward. You ready to do the work?
Now, her commentary on the pervasive influence of palm-coloredness in education strikes a chord with the stark reality faced by black people and people of color within the educational system. Her observations shed light on the deeply entrenched biases and systemic inequalities that continue to shape educational experiences and outcomes for marginalized communities. The truth, in her words, lies in the overwhelming dominance of palm color educators within the teaching force and the lack of representation for students of color and black people. For generations, educational institutions have been built upon a foundation that prioritizes palm color perspectives, narratives, and values, leaving little room for the diverse experiences and cultural backgrounds of black and minority students to be acknowledged, understood, or celebrated. The consequences of this imbalance are profound and far-reaching. Black students and students of color often find themselves marginalized, overlooked, and disempowered within the classroom environment. The absence of relatable role models and mentors can contribute to feelings of isolation and alienation, hindering academic engagement and achievement. Moreover, her commentary underscores the systemic biases that permeate educational practices, from tracking and disciplinary measures to the insidious school-to-prison pipeline. Black students and students of color are disproportionately affected by punitive measures such as special education referrals, suspensions, and expulsions, perpetuating cycles of disadvantage and perpetuating the criminalization of black youth. The impact of these disparities extends beyond the classroom, shaping life trajectories and perpetuating broader societal inequalities. Limited access to quality education can hinder economic mobility, exacerbate social inequalities, and perpetuate cycles of poverty within Black and minority communities. Her commentary serves as a powerful call to action, challenging all of us to confront the uncomfortable truths and systemic injustices that perpetuate inequality within the education system. It highlights the urgent need for transformative change, including greater representation and diversity among educators, culturally responsive curricula, and equitable disciplinary practices that prioritize the well-being and success of all students, regardless of their race or background. Now, research consistently shows that representation matters in education. Having teachers who reflect the racial and cultural diversity of students can positively impact academic achievement, self-esteem, and sense of belonging. When Black students and students of color see themselves reflected in the teaching force, they are more likely to feel valued, understood, and supported in their educational journey. A curriculum that is culturally relevant and inclusive is essential for engaging and empowering Black students and students of color. However, the dominance of palm color educators often results in a curriculum that prioritizes Eurocentric perspectives and neglects the contributions and experiences of marginalized communities. Now, this can lead to feelings of cultural invisibility and disconnection from the educational content. The presence of implicit bias among palm color educators can lead to differential treatment and discipline for Black students and students of color. Studies have shown that Black students are more likely to be disciplined, suspended, or expelled compared to their palm color peers for similar behaviors. Now, this perpetuates a cycle of disproportionality and contributes to the school to prison pipeline, where Black youth are disproportionately funneled into the criminal justice system. Underrepresentation of Black educators and educators of color can also impact resource allocation within schools and districts. Black schools and schools serving predominantly students of color often receive fewer resources, experienced teachers, and opportunities for academic enrichment compared to predominantly palm color schools. Now, this exacerbates existing inequalities and perpetuates disparities in educational outcomes. Despite these challenges, Black educators and educators of color play a vital role in advocating for the needs and rights of Black students and students of color within the educational system. They serve as mentors, advocates, and role models, empowering students to navigate systemic barriers and pursue academic success. Increasing the recruitment and retention of Black educators and educators of color is essential for promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion within education. The dominance of palm color educators limits educational opportunities for Black students and students of color. Research has shown that Black students are less likely to be placed in advanced or gifted programs, receive rigorous coursework, or have access to experienced teachers compared to their palm color counterparts. Now, this perpetuates disparities in academic achievement and limits the upward mobility of Black students and students of color. The lack of diversity among educators can impede cultural competence within schools and classrooms. Palm color educators may struggle to understand and respond effectively to the cultural, linguistic, and social needs of Black students and students of color, leading to misunderstandings, miscommunication, and disengagement. Culturally responsive teaching practices that affirm and validate diverse identities and experiences are essential for promoting academic success and well-being among all students. Black students and students of color may experience stereotype threat in predominantly palm color educational environments, where negative stereotypes about their racial group can undermine their academic performance and self-confidence. The pressure to disprove stereotypes and perform well academically in the face of implicit bias and discrimination can create added stress and anxiety, hindering learning and achievement. The experiences of Black students and students of color within the educational system are further complicated by intersecting identities such as gender, socioeconomic status, and ability. Intersectional approaches to education recognize the unique challenges and barriers faced by marginalized students and advocate for holistic support systems that address the complex intersections of race, gender, and other social identities. Building partnerships between schools, families, and communities is important for promoting educational equity and empowering Black students and students of color. Community-led initiatives, culturally relevant programming, and parent involvement can enhance student success, foster a sense of belonging, and strengthen community resilience in the face of systemic barriers. We have finally come to the end of the video. Share your thoughts as well. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video.